Hello and welcome aboard the Giddy Carousel of Pop. What the juggins is it all about, you may ask? Well, it's a podcast all about Smash Hits, the fortnightly music magazine which ran from 1978 to 2006. And what we do is take an old issue, usually from the 80s, although we may slide a year or two either side of that, and we have a good nose through its pages with a special guest who could be a pop kid, someone who worked on the mag, and who knows, one of these days, maybe even a pop star who appeared on its pages. Simple, really. I'm Simon Galloway, and with me is the ever-dependable Gavin Hogg.
Ahoy, hoy, Si.
You're all right there? Yes, I'm all right, thank you. You've got a few, just to acknowledge the listeners that we've gathered on the carousel thus far.
Well, joining us on the Giddy Carousel of Pop on Twitter, and, you know, we've had a lot of people liking us on Facebook as well, so thank you very much to all of those lovely people. I just thought I'd give a shout-out to some of our latest Twitter followers. So some of the latest people: Richard Button, Jill Turner, We Played This Podcast, Chat Album Pop, Jamie Liston, Nilo, and very excitingly, Paul Hanley out of X of the Fall, and now with Bricks and the Extricated, and Peter Ray, Pencil Squeezer, the artist Peter. So thank you very much to those people and the many, many others who are following us. And I had an interesting experience the other day, Si. Do you want to hear about
Go on,
it?
tell us.
I went to Buxton Opera House to see Stuart Lee on Saturday night, went into the bar, and you know when you see someone you've not seen for a couple of years, and you do that double take. I know that face. And it was this guy I know called Brad, very nice chap, who's one of the podcast listeners. And not seen him for a couple of years. And he introduced me to his wife, who I'd never met before. And rather than normal, this is Gavin, he's a big Morrissey and Smiths fan as well, I got, this is Gavin, he's one of the people off the podcast that you were listening to yesterday. That was the first time that's happened to me. So I was very, very happy. So thanks, Bradders, and thanks, Sarah. And she said, I mean, she was on the spot a bit because I said, "Oh, I hope you liked it." And she went, yeah. I'm hoping it'd be pretty bad if it wasn't genuine, wouldn't it? And you'd have to be pretty rude, really, just to be introduced to someone and go, "No, your podcast is terrible. I hated every minute of it." But so that was very thrilling and exciting.
Yeah, and I'd like to just mention that we got a like on Instagram from Adamski.
No way. That is killer.
Maybe Adamski could be our first pop star that we...
Imagine that.
That we get on the carousel.
Well, I'd like to have Adamant as well. Maybe we could have Adam and Adamski at the same time.
That would be a bit of a mouthful.
Something to aim for, wouldn't it?
So we've got a special guest with us to welcome on the carousel. It's a freelance pop culture writer and contributor to The Guardian, not to mention former Smash Hits deputy editor, Hannah Verdier. Welcome.
Hello.
Nice of you to join us.
So good to be here. I'm one of your listeners too.
Oh, blimey. Well, thank you very much. No pressure here then, eh? So before we get stuck into the issue of Smash Hits that we'll be looking at, can you tell us a bit about your time at The Hits and the kind of pop stars that you were encountering back then?
Well, if you like a boy band, I suppose I had some of the most glorious days. It was the days of Five, A1, Steps and S Club were quite big, Atomic Kitten, all the American ones, Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. It truly was poptastic.
So it's kind of like the last golden age of pop in a way.
I would say so, yes, before it all went a little bit wrong. But we were also allowed to put our favourite indie people in as well. That was kind of my department. So I was allowed to go and interview the Charlatans and Ash whenever I wanted.
Very nice. Who else did you manage to get in the magazine in your day then? One
of my favourite ones was I did an interview with Corey from Slipknot, which was amazing. It was really, really enjoyable. I remember asking him I was like, "Hey, people think you're evil, but what's your definition of evil?" And he just went, "Martha Stewart." So it was great. But I got some of the big, I'm going to name drop now. We had Janet Jackson when she came to the UK, and she was lovely. And I went to Houston to do Destiny's Child as well, and that was amazing.
So we won't be talking about any of these pop stars.
They weren't even born.
They probably weren't, were they?
Probably not.
But the carousel has landed in the spring of 1988, the 23rd to the 5th of April, to be precise, which Hannah has picked out for us. It's got the Pet Shop Boys on the cover, a beaming smile from Neil Tennant, Chris Lowe in a rather fetching sailor's outfit and looking as excited about that as you would expect him to be. If you want to read along with us, you can do just that, thanks to a couple of amazing websites. Brian McCloskey's Like Punk Never Happened or Smash Hits Remembered. And we've done all the hard work for you. You'll find the links to this issue in the show notes, along with Spotify and YouTube playlists that include pretty much all the songs and artists featured in this thrill-packed edition of Smash Hits. And we'll also be posting these links on our website, giddypoppod.home.blog. That rolls off the tongue very nicely. And on our Twitter and Facebook feeds, just search for the Giddy Carousel of Pop or at Giddy Pop Pod. So before we clamber aboard the carousel, Hannah, could you tell us a bit about why you chose this particular issue? What jumped out when you were looking through and deciding which one to choose?
Well, there were two main things. Chris and Neil. No, the Pet Shop Boys cover, I absolutely loved it with the sailor hats. And it was, of course, Neil Tennant that made me want to work on Smash Hits. I went in and told my teachers that I wanted to go and be deputy editor like him. And they said, don't be so stupid, just go into teaching. It's never going to happen. But fortunately, I ignored them, so that's good. But the other thing, I can remember getting this issue so clearly. The other thing was there's an interview with Michael Hutchence, the most beautiful man that ever lived. And the one-page poster, it's just exquisite. He's all curly hair and smouldering sums. He's, it's just amazing. To see him in there, it was like, oh, who's this? What's going on?
Yeah, I was feeling a little bit weak-kneed when I was looking at that particular page.
I know.
But Michael's looking into my soul here. Yeah.
He probably is. But it was the great time when you had, I think 1988 obviously was a brilliant time for music, but you had a real mix of people in there. When you've got Jesus and Mary Chain lyrics and you've got Debbie Gibson as well. And the thing that I remember most about the Debbie Gibson interview is she said that she cut up her burgers. And I was quite into the Gibson at the time, so I've always done the same.
Gibson etiquette.
Hamburger homage.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was over Easter, this particular issue. And just to set the scene a little bit, Kylie Minogue, I Should Be So Lucky, had just been knocked off the number one spot by Aswad, Don't Turn Around. The Pet Shop Boys were going to go to number one just after this one came out. So it gives you a pretty good idea of what was happening in the charts at that time. But what sort of music were you listening to back then, Hannah?
Well, I can actually remember when Heart went to number one, and I was, as much as I loved the Pet Shop Boys, I really wanted In Excess to be number one, but I don't think they even charted that week. But I was listening to Debbie Gibson, Taja Sevelle, because I used to be really into the American charts, like a small 16-year-old geek at that time. So I used to take Paul Gambaccini on a Saturday afternoon and kind of wait for it to come, my favourite songs to come to the British charts, which sometimes happened and sometimes didn't. I think it was about the time when Salt and Pepper's Push It was just beginning to break as well, which is the first song I ever danced on a stage to a couple of years later. So it's a very special time.
And so whereabouts were you living and what sort of stuff were you doing? What were you doing at school and things like that?
I would have been about to take my mock GCSEs, and I was living in the world's worst town of Kettering in Northants. Shout out to anyone from Kettering, you'll know what I mean. It was a very boring town, and all I could dream of was like going to work on Smash Hits and eventually going to London for the day, that kind of thing. And I was just nuts about music. If I wasn't in my bedroom designing dresses for Princess Diana and listening to Jelly Bean, then I was asleep. Such a geek.
So it's fair to say that Smash Hits was played a pretty big part in your life back then.
Yes, massive. And I'd rip out the posters as well. The song words, I don't know if I needed them. You'd pick that up pretty straight away. But also, I'd always I'd write to whoever was editing it probably once every couple of weeks. It would just remind me when I got it from the newsagents. Any chance of a job yet? And after about 7 years, well, maybe you could have an interview. But I know loads of people who did the same as well. One of my best friends who I worked with there, who was a designer, did exactly the same thing. Would just write off to them every week.
Persistence pays off.
Yeah, kind of.
So do you remember when you first encountered Smash Hits?
Oh, yes, I think so. I was a massive 5-Star fan, which I'm sure you two were as well.
Oh, every day of the week, yeah.
So that would have been maybe a little bit before. I think that would have been about 85, I think. And they were pure Smash Hits fodder as well, because they lived in that big house in Berkshire and weren't allowed to do anything other than drive around the drive. They weren't allowed out. So their questioning was, they had quite a lot to say about their lives. And obviously with their fabulous style, they made quite good posters as well. So I think it would be the 5-star period that I started reading it.
Gav, where were you at in the spring of 1988?
So in spring of 88, I was still living in Solihull. Just passed my driving test. I'm still 17. I mean, to be honest, the thought now of a 17-year-old me driving around on the streets unaccompanied fills me with terror. But at the time, it was very liberating and free. And, and driving to college, driving to sixth form, if my mum didn't need the car that day, was a lot of fun. As regular listeners of this podcast will know, my love life was often in turmoil. And thankfully, my teenage diary covers some of it.
We've got the diary.
Wait, you had a love life at 17. I'm a bit jealous of you.
Well, I was almost 18, yeah.
Wow.
Makes all the difference.
I'd had a girlfriend for, it was kind of my first serious girlfriend. We'd been together about 8 or 9 months and the wheels were just starting to come off the relationship. And we broke up about mid-March, maybe a week or so before this Smash Hits would have come out. And we were still kind of friends, in Smash Hits inverted commas, but we'd not had a falling out. And it was my 18th party at the end of the month, at the end of March, which was quite traumatic, really. As Morrissey would have said, I can smile about it now, but at the time it was terrible. Yeah, so it was my 18th. She came, ended up getting off with one of my best mates.
Uh-oh.
And then I found out that them two liking each other, there was a bit of an overlap with the last days of our relationship. So, so we went friends for a little while after that. I mean, it's a long time ago now. But
I think you should name and shame her. Unless you're married to her now. I wouldn't
stoop so low. No.
I think you should.
Read her, I'm married. No, I didn't marry her. But, so that was, to a sensitive almost 18-year-old, that was quite tricky. But in terms of pop stuff, I went to a couple of gigs, actually. I'd forgotten about sort of studenty gigs. On the 25th of March, I've got in my diary, went to the disco at the Tech with Colin and William, really shit, 2 live bands who were okay. I don't know who they were, but there were only 25 people there, had row with mum. So that was on the 25th. 5th of April, a bit later. Now, this was my first sort of proper kind of indie kind of gig. I'd seen Adamant a couple of years before at Birmingham Odeon, but I saw Mighty Mighty at Burberry's. That was like a little nightclub in Birmingham with Claudia, Gol, Colt, etc. Really good. Looking forward to talking with Claudia as I'm getting more fond of her. She's lovely. So I'd got over my previous heartbreak quite quickly, bounced back through the power of pop. And then in terms of music, really, I was buying some stuff. I'd got like the Morrissey album had come out around this time, and I remember getting that. But also a friend of mine from college, Roz, she used to do compilation tapes for me. She had a really good taste in music, and she had a boyfriend who was at Manchester. He was from Manchester. And yeah, between them, they had a great record collection. So that was a really good introduction to me to lots of bands, kind of John Peel bands and bands that I'd read about in the NME, but I didn't really have any way of listening to particularly, and lots of great 60s stuff. So Roz, if you're out there listening, I've no idea where she ended up. And this was, it's been 30 years since I last saw her, but thank you, because you really introduced me to lots of great music, stuff like the Pastels and the Wedding Present and all sorts of stuff. And also the world of fanzines as well. She was a friend of Pete Perfides, and she sold me one of his fanzines at college one day, and I'd never seen a fanzine before. So that introduced me to that world as well. So there were lots of new things happening around that time for me.
Good. Well, everybody needs a friend like Roz.
They do. She was great, yeah.
Well, for me, I was, in the 3rd year at school, just done my GCSE options. Turned out to be not wise options, but we were only the 2nd year that ever chose GCSEs, so I don't think the teachers quite understood what they were talking about. But if we ever do September 1988, I shall go into more detail about that. So yeah, I was, 14 and a half, pretty much exactly, and that half is quite important. I'd started making a diary around that time. They all went in the bin years ago, so I can't.
No.
It started. I can remember what actually triggered me to start writing the diary, and that was watching the. It may have been the Brit Awards at that point, or it might have been the British Rock and Pop Awards, something like that. But the Who got a Lifetime Achievement Award, right? And they reunited for the awards, and they were halfway through a song, and the coverage ended. They just went into the next program, whatever was on the schedule, and that made me so angry.
Did you start trashing the telly?
Well, no, I took pen to paper And I wrote in my diary, I can remember it was something about they wouldn't do that for sport, would they?
Yeah.
And things like that.
Wow. Furious of Sheffield.
Yeah. But I didn't actually send a letter or anything like that. But along with, so I didn't keep my diaries, but I did keep all my smash hits. The one that we're looking at here has got my name written in the top left-hand corner. Thank you, Mr. Newsagent. But I've also got in the Galloway tape archive, otherwise known as a box in the loft, a load of videotapes and audio tapes from around that time. And they tell, the formats tell a very, very different story. Because on the videotape, I was just taping the songs that I wanted to keep from Top of the Pops. So I'd sit there in front of the video recorder, just pressing pause and then play when I wanted to record something. So I've got this tape here covers March to October 1988. And the first half hour of this is pretty much this edition of Smash Hits. Okay. So you've got on there, and I'm not quite sure why I recorded some of these, but I did. Bros, Erasure, Climie Fisher, Debbie Gibson, Wet Wet Wet, Taylor Dayne, Fleetwood Mac, Pet Shop Boys, and then we get into S Express in New Order, so we're going beyond this particular edition of Smash Hits. But then on the audio tapes, these are all from John Peel shows. And cool. I used to stay up. So he was on Monday to Wednesday at that point, 10 till midnight. My mum used to work a late shift in a bakery. So my excuse was that I was waiting up for my mum to come home. So I would sit and just tape loads and loads of songs off John Peel. So on these 3 tapes that are from around this time, we've got the Jesus and Mary Chain, Robert Lloyd in the New Four Seasons, The Wedding Present, The Colourblind James Experience, and Joy Division. So I was kind of at polar opposites at this time, still enjoying the pop, but getting massively into what was going on the other side of pop.
You two were such cool teenagers. Do you know this? Or do you just not admit to liking Tiffany at all?
Well,
I just don't get it.
Me and my friend Chris had decided in the Tiffany versus Debbie Gibson debate.
Oh.
You had to pick a side.
Yeah, so what are you?
Well, Debbie Gibson.
Of course.
Because she was a girl after our own hearts. She wrote her own songs. She had her own recording studio at home that she'd bought with money from doing commercials. In fact, I think it's mentioned in this edition of Smash Hits. And so we were like, yeah, we're with Debbie. She's doing what we want to do. Despite the fact that Chris was listening to Def Leppard and Bon Jovi.
Nothing wrong with the Leopards.
Yeah. And I'd be hometown heroes for me. And I'd be trying to force him to listen to Iggy and the Stooges and Bauhaus. So they were interested in lunch times during school terms and things, debating the various merits of pop stars of the day, and me clearly moving into goth territory. I never became a fully fledged goth, but there we go. So I think that paints a picture of where we're all at in when this edition of Smash Hits came out. So let's get stuck in, shall we? Chris and Neil of the Pet Shop Boys on the front. 5 free stickers, but my stickers are long gone, so I don't know what stickers we got on there. Oh. Song words including Tiffany, Hart and Eric B. Brilliant 8-page pull-out Bros booklet and pieces on In Excess, Debbie Gibson, Patsy, Kensit and Erasure, not to mention get 50p off 12-inch singles. And this edition of Smash Hits would have cost you 48p. So let's get in there and we get straight to the incredible world of Debbie Gibson, where she's just given a little bit of an insight into her life. We've got photos of her childhood bedroom there, a family photo, holding her dog Sam, and she's just projecting herself as a clean, living, fun-loving teenager, including the special way to eat a burger. So I guess this is cutting it up into little pieces with a knife and fork. And eating those rather than just stuffing it in your gob.
That's very ladylike, but I think she claims that everyone thought she was weird for doing that. I don't know. Tiffany would wolf it down in one, I think.
I think she probably would.
She would. She wouldn't have any class about her.
Do you still do the fork and knife routine even today, Hannah?
Do you know what? I had a burger the other night, neatly cut it in half.
Okay, so somewhere between Tiffany and Debbie now.
Maybe a little bit.
You've moved a little towards Tiff.
You grow up and you become a little more dangerous, don't you? In your burger consumption.
Depends how hungry you are as well.
Does, yeah. Gibson level or Tiffany level. If you're Taylor Dayne level, don't even get me started.
Oh, wow.
She's a wonderful woman.
One thing quite strange about this Debbie Gibson piece is when she's talking about hanging out at home with sisters and friends, and they start talking about Halloween and a party at Halloween.
That's exactly the bit that I'd highlighted.
Yeah, it's because most of it is it's all about being very ordinary and, just a regular American girl and all that. And then she's saying that she has kind of, I guess, sleepovers with friends and, friends around. And says after a movie, we usually go back to someone's house and talk. Sometimes we get loud. Last Halloween, I had a party where we had a seance. And this bit blew my mind because you think, right, they're going to contact two people. Who would Debbie Gibson and her friends try and contact? You'd never guess. Sid Vicious and Liberace. That's a weird combo, isn't it? For an American teenager to... Why Sid Vicious? Why? I mean, Liberace, maybe. He was an American...
a household name, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess he'd recently died. But Sid Vicious, by this point, had been dead, about
9 years? 9 years. 9 years, yeah.
So, yeah, I just thought it was an odd choice for Debbie's seance. Try and get through.
Well, she might have gone for Marilyn Monroe or something.
Well, yeah, that would be a more obvious choice, wouldn't it?
So, yeah, that's life. It says Incredible World of Debbie Gibson, but really it's life at home with Debbie Gibson.
Yeah.
And she's just portraying herself as the normal, everyday teenager. Now we get swiftly on to what I always refer to as the beating heart of Smash Hits. I have to say that because for me this is one of my favourite bits. This is bits, quite literally. And did you notice the layout between the pieces and things? Smarties, and there's half of one Malteser, so somebody must have scoffed the rest of the packet. And an Easter egg. It's an Easter themed bits layout.
Oh yeah,
which I thought was rather nice.
That makes sense.
I really enjoyed the Twix competition where the question was like, what's a Twix? Is it the name of Jermaine Stewart's pet Labrador? So those details are what I used to live for.
And would you have been entering the competitions as well?
Definitely.
Any excuse to write to Smash Hits?
Yeah, exactly.
So amongst little pieces on Billy Ocean, U2, Belinda Carlisle's Secret Pass as an agony aunt, got a feature here on Voice of the Beehive. Anything there that leaps out to you, Gav?
Yeah, the highlight here for me is the fact that we get to learn that Melissa gets spook letters from a devil worshipper. I mean, again, I don't really know what goes on in devil worshippers' heads, really, but I would have thought stalking a member of Voice of the Beehive would be a strange choice to make. Why not go for a goth band or, an industrial combo, something like that. Melissa says, he writes me these love letters and they're all written backwards. He says, I control the fire of hell and don't not like me because I can tell and I'll put a curse on you. I'm not too worried about him, though, because I've actually met him backstage once and he was the most timid mouse ever. Okay. Well, in contrast to Debbie Gibson's eating habits, it says here, they both eat like pigs. We used to have Watsits left for months in the cupboard at home. When they were stale and all chewy, Tracy would stuff her face with them. Now she has to have them backstage at gigs. The packets have to be left open beforehand to let the air get to them. And she loves garlic mixed with strawberry jam, blee, which I think is disgusting. Yeah, she's right.
That's just wrong.
Isn't it?
And then something that we touched on a few episodes ago when we had Strawberry Switchblade and we were discussing them and said about them being ugly. And here, the sisters from Voice of the Beehive, they think they're both ugly dogs. We don't go in for the beauty queen angle with the band. We both realise we're ugly dogs. The more makeup we can pile on, the better. We never go out to pick up boys. They never even look in our direction.
Yeah, I find that a little hard to believe.
Sweet modesty.
Yeah, I remember the first time I saw them on the telly, I fell in love with them. Would the Voice of the Beehive capturing your attention at all?
Mine, yeah, actually. I think it's mostly for the hair, though, rather than the music. But I always got them confused with Strawberry Switchblade, actually. That makes me something of a Philistine, doesn't it? Similar, but not. I noticed when I was laughing out loud because when they said about Ice House, obviously they didn't get an interview with them. They had to just get them in there. They described them as not very handsome blokes. Yeah. I love it.
The thing is that they'd had a hit a few years before, but they seem to have been forgotten about already. There's a little mention here of 14-year-old songstress Shanice Wilson, who a couple of years later would be known just as Shanice. She dropped the Wilson and had a massive hit with I Love Your Smile. A little bit on Whitney Houston to tour, win a Wet, Wet, Wet video. And then we get Des O'Connor.
The legend.
Yeah, popping up in Smash Hits.
I can't remember. I'm just trying to think now. Why was he in there?
Why wouldn't he be?
It seems an odd choice.
He's done a cover version of the Neighbours theme.
Okay, right,
Oh.
right. I mean, I was thinking with Des O'Connor being in Smash Hits, that seemed to me very much to be kind of almost from the world of fanzines. You know, Sean Pattenden used to do a fanzine around about this time called How to Make Friends and Influence People, and there'd be interviews with like Thora Hird and Alan Bennett and people like that, people off Tomorrow's World, you know, talking about the pop scene. Well, actually, no, she would always talk to them about central heating or potted plants. But it's that similar. It's almost, you know, it's almost quite a funny kind of idea, almost like a Viz type thing to have a bit of an old. You know, I mean, it feels a bit cruel saying has been about Des, but really,
an old croaker.
Yeah, by this time, you know, he wasn't really on the cultural radar so much, was he? So
certainly not as a singer.
No, definitely not as a singer. So yeah, it was a strange inclusion into Smash Hits. Really, it kind of sticks out, doesn't he?
I do like it. I like the randomness of it. I remember when I was on Smash Hits, we had a couple of similar things. One was, strange enough, I did both these interviews. One was Bill Wyman. And the other one was Rolf Harris.
Oh,
great days. I've still got the cartoon he did for me. No one really knows what to say to that, do you?
No,
Moving swiftly on.
yeah. Would you just leave that there for a little moment and just ponder on that?
I'm okay though, honestly.
That's okay. But if you do want to talk about it, we're probably not the best people. So.
The Rolfaroo.
And then there's a little piece on Michael Jackson and some new Pepsi commercials that he's done. There's 4 commercials, a series of 4 that follow on from each other. Found them all, so I put them on the YouTube playlist if you want to check that out, sitting there down at the end. But Michael was supposed to be live on a video screen to present these, but he doesn't turn up. They get somebody, let's see, Bits caught a sneak preview of the new advert at a special press conference at a Snoot Hotel in London, at which Michael was billed to answer the odd question or two, but unfortunately he got cold feet, and instead some bloke called Roger Enrico, quite a big cheese in the fizzy drinks trade, i.e. the president of Pepsi Cola, came on the screen and waffled on for a bit about how Michael is an extraordinarily shy individual who doesn't handle questions very well. It's not something he feels comfortable doing, but if you'd like to ask me anything about Michael, and then Bits asks a question, has he ever told you a good joke? Well, not really, no. The only thing that's close to a joke that Michael's ever said to me was a few years ago when we were in his living room one night and we were watching the World Series baseball. After we'd been watching for some time, Michael turned round to me and said, "What is this?"
What is baseball?
Yeah, I thought that was a little strange, seeing as we had been watching the baseball about halfway through without him even knowing what it was.
I love that that's the thing that he finds strange about Michael Jackson.
Yeah, it does say a lot about Michael Jackson's grip on reality, though, doesn't it? You think baseball is one of America's national sports, and he'd been watching it for half an hour or more, and then was like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
But wasn't that when he set his hair on fire on that advert? Is that why he didn't turn up, or is that a different time?
That was a few years earlier when they were doing one with the Jacksons.
Yeah.
His hair's on fire. So I was surprised that he returned to Pepsi.
Maybe he had a phobia and just didn't want to turn up after.
Had a sudden hair on fire flashback.
Come on, Bubbles, we're leaving.
Yeah, but in the adverts, in the series of adverts, he's on the run from everyone, from there's journalists possibly journalists chasing him down the street, and he's doing all sorts of things, and he's even on skis at one point. There's an amazing lift off at the end of the ski slope, so they compare Bits compares him to Eddie the Eagle Edwards. Which I think actually Eddie Edwards flew with a little more grace. So I don't know if there's anything else within the contents of Bits that caught your attention or that you'd like to mention before we move on.
They did have the equivalent of the Bible in there, which was a stock Aitken Waterman's How to Write a Hit, which I quite like.
Oh yeah,
So a bit of the random older generation. But that was when they were right at the top of their game. I mean, when aren't they at the top of their game? But that was the Climie era. There was a bit of Sonia, so they really were the daddies of the manor, I think. Yeah,
the juggernaut was in full effect then, because they'd had big success with Mel and Kim and Rick Astley the year before, just been at number one with Kylie, and then there's quite a few Stock Aitken and Waterman songs appear throughout this edition of the hits. So it's getting to pretty much world dominance, I think, or certainly
Exactly.
chart dominance over here. Inescapable from this point on for the next couple of years. But the piece doesn't really go very far, does it?
Not really.
It starts off well, mentioning Motown and a few other things. Listen to
the Beatles.
Listen to the Beatles, yeah. And then they kind of quickly degenerates into, I don't know if they're just kind of bickering amongst themselves a little bit. It's kind of going off on a tangent, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bit they say, no one will follow you unless you keep to the point. Say the song title is Blue Eyes, then you've got to write a whole song about how blue the eyes are. Blue, royal blue, navy blue, sky blue, 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 blue. That's your point. Just think of the best phrases to describe it. If you start mentioning the blonde hair or then whether she votes Labour or not, you've lost people immediately. So, yeah, it's all about the eyes.
So were you a fan of the whole Stock Aitken and Waterman stuff?
I still am, actually.
Yeah.
I've got to say. But what really confuses me is this was all like, maybe you lot were cool, but this is like a few months before the 1988 version of Blue Monday.
Yeah.
And I don't know how my brain had room was suddenly going to go and like New Order, but had all the Stock Aitken and Waterman in there. I mean, I even like Cliff Richard's Just Don't Have the Heart. He used to go to clubs and dance to that. Donna Summer, This Time I Know It's For Real, that's one of my favourite songs ever. And all the Kylie, when I got my Spotify roundup from last year, Kylie was still one of my most played artists. And a lot of it was from the Saw days. Yeah, I think they're musical geniuses. Of course they are. Do you share this view? No. You prefer their earlier stuff, don't you?
Yeah, it's always the earlier stuff, isn't it? I think I quite like the sentiment behind I'd rather Jack than Fleetwood Mac. But I didn't.
Yes.
But I didn't at the time. I was absolutely. That was one of the things I wrote
outrage,
about.
Wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it was. I was absolutely outraged by that, and probably wrote about it in my diary. I remember being quite incensed about that.
I'm afraid I hated the Source stuff. I really didn't like it. It just
every single one.
Yeah, I think so. I can't really think of any that I like, because to me they all just, and they still do, just sound pretty much the same. They just remind me of bad discos that I went to, and bad nightclubs in sort of 87, 88. And having said that, actually, the Sinitta song that's in here, the
hello.
Promise You a Secret, when I listened to it a little bit, I've got to say, actually, that was all right. Yeah. I kind of thought,
I've come round to that one a little bit.
Yeah. I surprised myself actually by thinking, this is okay, it's all right. Yeah. But I mean,
my dad was the Kylie fan.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
He had the album.
Okay.
Go on, your dad.
and he'd get a funny look in his eye when she came on the telly and stuff.
Go all wistful.
Yeah, just a few years later, Shania Twain had exactly the same effect on us.
Has your dad come out yet?
Not to me.
Sorry, Dad, I don't mean it if you're listening. We all go like that over Kylie. I had Kylie hair at the time. I had the bubble perm.
Yeah.
And I can remember at this point, I was very banging to neighbours. I think anyone was. But I just had my first blonde highlights. Life-changing moment. And people used to shout out, Kylie! As I walked along the corridors at school.
I bet you loved it.
Oh, of course.
Gav, you're going to look for something in your diary then.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, because, I was saying Saw went really in my ballpark. And at the back of my diary, I've got a yearly roundup. So from 1987, the previous year, I mean, Si, you know me a bit. Who do you think my favourite three groups were?
The Smiths.
Number one.
Were you into the Fall at that point?
I was just getting into them, but yeah.
So they wouldn't have been in the top three.
I think the Weddos or Bros will be in there.
No, I did quite like the Weddos, but no, they weren't.
U2.
U2 was the second, very good.
Yeah.
And then an old band for the third one. Cool 60s band.
Cool 60s band.
Good name to drop in enemy interviews.
Love.
Close. Velvets.
Oh, the Velvet Underground, of course.
And then my favourite singers, showing a lack of imagination underneath my favourite groups. I've got favourite singers, Morrissey, Bono and Lou Reed. So
consistency.
Yeah, nothing if not consistent. Oh, dear.
So we move on from bits and we get a little 2-page spread on Patsy Kensit. She's down the gym with Sylvia Patterson on this one. And I thought it was funny that there was no mention whatsoever of her band, Eighth Wonder.
No.
No mention of the fact that she'd just done a song with the Pet Shop Boys that was about to come out.
You don't need it.
I'm not scared. It's just all about...
just gym pics.
Yeah, all about Patsy down the gym. A couple of years earlier, when she'd been in Absolute Beginners, I'd have been all over this. Because, it's like Patsy, she was nearly my age. I thought, there's a girl I can fancy.
Yeah.
She's beautiful in that film, though. Well, she still is, I think. But yeah, she's perfection.
Yeah. Well, she was only like 17, I think, when she did Absolute Beginners. So, so to me, that seemed like, only 5 years.
Yeah,
that's a reasonable age gap.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's fine.
I think it's all right if it's like 5 years older at that age. If you were like 5 years...
No, yeah. 5 years younger. Yeah.
I think that's the acceptable 5 years way to fancy a 17-year-old Patsy Kensit.
I think some eyebrows might have been raised, Patsy Kensit's way if she'd have started going out with 12-year-old Cy Galloway from Sheffield. Like, this is a bit weird.
I want to keep that quiet.
Yeah.
And in her Bird's Eye Pea advert, I bet you liked her in that.
Well, I think that's a classic role,
It is.
That little... There we are.
Yeah, exactly.
That was a good one. I'll keep that.
Yeah, that was
really good.
There.
First time you practiced.
I've not practiced for years. I've not done that for years. Oof, blimey.
Still got it.
So we skip on a few pages. We get lyrics for Sinitta's Cross My Broken Heart, her single with Aitken and Waterman. She appears later in the mag as well, so we'll talk about her in a little bit. An advert for the next hit from Taylor Dayne, Prove Your Love. I'd forgotten how growly she was. Growl, prove it, growl. All that kind of stuff going on. And I think she's very... so like in the UK, it was all about Aitken and Waterman. In the US, I think pop was entirely dominated by Whitney. And Taylor is very much going down the Whitney route. I mean, you think about songs like So Emotional, which got a bit of a harder edge for Whitney, and that's the way that Taylor Dayne's going. And I think Debbie Gibson and Tiffany, to some extent, going sort of semi down the Whitney route. But we'll talk about Tiffany's song when we get to it, shall we? We've got an advert here for the cover stars, their latest single, Heart. Available in an array of formats. Gav, do you want to talk us through those formats that are available there for the Heart single?
So it's a 7-inch, 12-inch and a CD single and a cassette single, isn't it? And then different coloured sleeves. You can either have a Neil sleeve or a Chris sleeve in different colours. I just thought it was just the design of this single is lovely, isn't it? It just looks so nice. And it's a great advert. If you compare it with the Jermaine Stewart advert from a couple of pages earlier, which is really busy and all kinds of fonts and...
Yeah, I can't even read.
You can't even read half of it.
That hot pink colour.
And that's just like a really nice kind of classic, they're classy band, Pet Shop Boys, aren't they? And this design encapsulates their, them kind of rising above a lot of the noise and the clamour of the pop world and just being classy as anything. And it still looks good now, I think.
There's a minimalism to it. It's art for heart.
Nice.
I wish I had all those formats, though, particularly the cassette single. I've got a box full of cassette singles, but I think they're from a bit later.
Yeah.
The Soup Dragons, etc.
So then we get to that 2-page piece on Michael Hutchence. And what a combination. Sylvia Patterson goes to see Michael Hutchence at his hotel room. And I just love Sylvia's writing anyway, but I think this is a great example of why she's so good, because she absolutely puts you in the room with her and you trust her. She's your eyes and ears, and her reactions are your reactions as well. And she absolutely just guides you through this, and you sit there with the same reactions that she's having. I think it's an absolutely fantastic piece. Hannah, do you want to talk us through a little bit what's going on here?
Oh yeah. Well, I think you're right. I think that is a lost art of putting you in the room. I think nowadays people put themselves in the room and then put the star in the room. And I really hate that, if they arrived before the pop star. But she just would, it's not about her, it's totally about him. And the moment where he kind of starts to lift his top off, it's like, oh, we're all there. But I think the questions she asks are really, really fascinating. They do tell you quite a lot about him. Is when he gets embarrassed because his first gig was the Bee Gees, and then he kind of comes around to it. And she asked the all-important question, do you know anyone called Bruce? Which I can just imagine that he's Australian. Let's find that out. And have you ever been sick on an umbrella plant? Which brings forth some some really good stories of sickness. I think a lot of the questions that seem like stupid questions were things to reveal more. Like, I always remember, does your mother play golf? And your answer to that tells you about like all kinds of things about class and family and your relationship with your mother. But I really, really love the bit where she asked him who he'd most like to have a bareback kangaroo race with. And just grabs some Australian celebrities like Paul Hogan, Rolf's in there again, Olivia Newton-John, but she asks him about Kylie. And he just goes, none of the above. And basically definitely not Kylie because she's got a horrible voice. And this was probably around the time or just before their relationship was starting. But then he kind of goes, oh yeah, she's a nice girl, really. But it's brilliant. It's just so, you look back on it, it's so revealing. I love it. And there he is smouldering in the trademark leather jacket, just being so cool. But it's not like he thinks he's above all these questions. He just gets on with it.
Yeah.
But did you watch the documentary about him as well? Just everyone just saying what a nice bloke he was. And I think it really comes across.
Yeah, no, I missed that documentary.
No, I didn't see it.
Oh, it's incredible. You need to see it. I think it might still be on iPlayer, but it has scenes with him and Kylie as well, and they're just so romantic, and they used to fax each other. And I cried at that bit because I thought, what a romantic thing to do. I love it.
Did they go on any bareback kangaroo rides together?
I think they probably did, judging by the look on her face, but that wasn't included. And that's when she made shocked.
What I like about this interview, you get a real sense of his sort of energy as well, don't you? And you know, you said about him really launching himself into it, but he just finds everything hilarious, and you kind of just reading it, you get the impression he's talking at 100 miles an hour, and Sylvia's throwing these funny questions at him. And it's just really funny. And there's some quite odd things as well. As a reference towards the bottom of the interview, where she says, "Is there anything more infuriating than putting on a duvet cover?" And he says, "I think the most infuriating thing is when you can't find a bottle opener. Of course, I just pull it off with my teeth. Haha. I tell you, there's some girls in Thailand, ...
I love the fact that stayed in.
Yeah. If I'd have read that at the time, this was before the internet, and I think the stuff about what certain ladies in certain parts of Thailand could possibly do with certain body parts wasn't public knowledge. But looking back now as an adult, I can see where that was going.
I think it works beautifully.
It's the insertion of the double question marks as well. To just like, what the hell is this guy on about? So yeah, it's the bit where she asks him, do you have any interest in scars? Scars? Oh yeah, I've got a real good one. Leaps out of his seat and pretends to take his breeks off. Oh dear. Haha. Oh, I know. Wax up a black t-shirt thingy to reveal Ripple-esque and tanned chest, plus 3 interesting parallel scars just above where his heart is. Again, that's quite revealing of him, and he's also revealing himself quite literally at that particular point.
Yeah, I just read Sylvia Patterson's autobiography. I finished it about a month or so ago, and anyone out there who's not read it and likes smash hits from this time, you must get it. It's fantastic. It's a really, really good read. Very funny and tender in places as well. It's great.
Sorry, I'm just sticking the poster up as we speak.
Printing it out A3.
Yeah. Like I haven't still got it from the old days. I haven't. It's in my mum's attic. She's probably moved since then.
So we turn the page. Quite a contrast.
Yeah.
From smouldering Mr. Hutchence to Tiffany in what looks like a bit of a home knit jumper.
What is going on with that jumper? Why would you wear that?
I think I know what's happened. When I looked at it, I was like, what is going on here? And I decided someone's decorated a lemon with Mr. Potato Kit stuff, and they're at Brands Hatch, and that's where the checkered flag is coming in.
Oh, of course.
I think it's just one of those. I don't know. Even by 80s standards, that's something of a jumper, isn't it?
Bold.
Yeah, initially I thought, is it a Pac-Man thing? Because the yellow shape sort of looks like a Pac-Man.
Maybe.
But why would Pac-Man be eating a checkered flag? I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there.
No. So this is the lyrics for the song Could Have Been, and there's a video on the playlist. Bearing in mind, this is on the official Tiffany channel, this particular live performance of this song. And it's a ballad, and she's going in for the big Whitney-style sing. She doesn't pull it off in
She
any way.
really doesn't.
She doesn't. I think I know that. Yeah, she doesn't hit it.
She doesn't hit any of it.
She's not even close.
She's several miles away all the way through. It's painful to listen to. I had to turn the volume down and take my hearing aids out.
Oh,
I was trying to
no.
listen to it. It was absolutely painful. And it's funny because she's doing it. She's on like a sort of raised walkway, and there's a crowd of teens on either side of her, aren't there? It's like a sort of a fashion runway,
Yes.
and she's on it. And there's this one lad, if you look about 50 odd seconds in, and there's a little kid on the right hand side down by her feet who looks so bored. He's only on screen for about 3 seconds, but it's the best look of a kid in an audience ever. It's hilarious. So yeah, try and find it.
Yeah, he's probably like, this is the 5th take. Yeah.
And that was probably the best one,
Yeah,
So
yeah,
God knows what the other ones were like.
I've been in the audience for Top of the Pops and experienced things like that. It was when Gareth Gates was at number 1 with Unchained Melody. Was that what it was?
Yeah,
And-
terrible time for pop.
Yeah, and
Sorry, Gareth.
Yeah, sorry, Gareth. And he's a tea bag magnate now, isn't he? Something like that. Look for coconut tea bags next time you go in Holland and Barrett, and I'm pretty sure it's the Gareth Gates company that he started with tea bags. But yeah, so we were subjected to. So we were there to see Brian Ferry do a set. He was filming for Top of the Pops too. While they were there, they got Gareth Gates in as well, and they got him to record Unchained Melody 3 times, and he had a costume change each time so they could use it on consecutive weeks on Top of the Pops. And yeah, our faces must have been like that lad's in the Tiffany video. Yeah, but like halfway through the second one, it's like, oh God, not again.
Did he go from one white suit to another?
There was a white suit. I think there was a pale blue suit.
And an off-white suit.
Yeah, I think he probably was an off-white suit. Yeah, it was
And then Tiffany's jumper
And then,
on the
yeah.
last one.
If only he had, that would have been a definite improvement, certainly for the eyes. On the opposite page to Tiffany, we get the lyrics for These Dreams by Heart, written by Bernie Taupin.
Didn't know that.
No, I didn't
That's
either.
a song.
Yeah, when I saw it down there at the bottom. Is this a power ballad? Is this what we know as a power ballad?
About as power as it gets, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's power ballad with capital P and a capital B.
And I was I was quite taken with this video. It contains many of the elements that you would see in music videos throughout the 80s, but with that added extra edge of surrealism, because it's about dreams. But Anne and Nancy, the sisters from Heart, just look utterly bored all the way through. And I don't know if this video is based on their dreams or somebody else's dreams, and that's why, they're just not...
They're listening to someone else's dreams. I'd be the same.
just not buying into these dreams,
Maybe they're asleep.
Yeah, these are somebody else's dreams. But yeah, there's a wind machine going and blowing the hair around. There's high kicks. There's a clenched fist going on at some point. Anne and Nancy are you see them both miming the lines. Who's actually singing this song? And then there's the bit where you think there's a scene where you think it's at a concert and there's all these adoring hands coming up.
Yeah.
And then you get that shot from a different perspective. Oh, no,
It's not, my friend.
No, it's not at all. It's hands coming up through gaps in the floor trying to grab at you.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate it when that happens.
I know, it's the worst, isn't it? It happened to me only this morning.
No wonder they look annoyed.
Yeah. So I think that was possibly based on an anxiety dream that Hart may have had, where the hands in the audience start grabbing for you. But yeah, it was just the fact that most of the way through they're showing absolutely no emotion whatsoever, whilst all these abstract things going on. And as it starts off as well, one of the sisters is kneeling by the water. I thought she was doing a hand washing in the river. Looks a bit like that.
Washing her smalls on tour.
Yeah. She's got a bar of laundry soap and she's giving them a good scrub. Yeah, we've got a clean stream here. Let's just give these a bit of a go, because wearing leather pants like that, it's it's going to get close, isn't it?
Yeah,
definitely. You wouldn't be allowed back on the tour bus until you got those dried, I think. Bet she takes a mangle.
It's such a wimpy ballad, but there's bits in the video where she's doing sort of high kicks with the guitar and really rocking out.
Oh, yes.
And it's it's more or less kind of a Whitney Houston song, but she's doing all this kind of heavy metal gesturing, and it's a really strange mismatch between the song and the video, isn't it? And
of course, when you get the guys from the band as well doing their macho rock faces to camera.
Yeah, all that pouting.
Yeah.
Oh, it's terrible. But Yeah, maybe they look so blank because they realise what a dog-awful song it is and they're just trying to cover it up with this overblown video. That's the only thing I can think of. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's got every single... It pretty much defines this period of 80s video, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah. Hannah, did you spend any time with this video?
Well, yeah, I think you're being so harsh. How could you call it a wimp? I'm sorry, I'm going to have to disagree with you here.
That's all right, you disagree.
How would you call it? You're calling Heart a wimpy ballad? Come on, these girls are rock. They're rock royalty. I think that is, you've got to have an overblown video. Have you not followed the November Rain rule? I mean, you've got to have all those effects and the clenched fist, or as it's actually known, the fist of pure emotion. I'm doing it now. I can't think about it without bringing them down. Yeah, I just think they're sensational, and it's a sensational video.
It's tremendous hair, if nothing else.
Yeah, exactly.
So skipping past Oswald, Don't Turn Around, their song that was number one.
Very wise.
When this particular edition of the hits was out. We get to RSVP. Hannah, did you ever write to anyone through RSVP, or did you even send a letter in?
Do you know what? I didn't. But what's occurred to me, what glory days were we in where you could put the full addresses of a 13-year-old girl and just... they'd get some pop letters and nothing else. What a glorious time. There's a time before P.O. boxes. By the time I'd got to just 17, it was P.O. boxes all the way when they're writing to those agony aunts, am I normal? But I just think it's very trusting. What a beautiful era.
Yeah, well, I think they've made a slight nod to data protection because they used to have full names, people's second name, and then now it's just the first name. So I think that's...
Oh, that's fine then. You can still go around the house if you're that kind of person.
I like the second lad down. Hello, my name's Anthony and I'm 16 years old. I'm willing to write to anyone between the age of 16 and 18. He's just willing to write to anyone he is.
Yeah.
And it's got quite an international flavour going on as well. You've got people from Germany, Japan, France, Canada, Zimbabwe and Chile. There's two people from Stockport as well. That's just over the hill from where we're recording now, particularly Marple. So, I was driving that way earlier on today. I should have, just dropped by that particular road to see if who was living there. Oh, Kirsty. She was living in Stockport.
How can you drive around alone in Stockport after watching The Stranger if you've not watched that?
Only episode 1.
Oh, it's not safe out there. You two go home together. That's all I'm saying.
But Claudia sounds fun. Was that who you would have written to again?
I'd have either written to Claudia or Patrick, who's the top of the final column, who liked the Smiths, the Pogues, the House Martins, and the Communards. But I think Claudia sounds cooler because she was a bit older and she lived in Germany.
I think Claudia would have got most letters there. I'd have been tempted.
Yeah.
She's mad about The Cure, Depeche Mode, The Mission, Susie and the Banshees, and lots of pop.
She's lying about the pop just to get in there, isn't she? Right. She's a full-blown German goth. That's what you're dealing with there.
Just trying to widen the net a little bit.
You'd go over on your exchange expecting like a bit of stock Aitken and Waterman. She'd bring out the Sisters of Mercy. It would be an education.
That'd be one I'd have been willing to take at that time, I think.
I bet it was, yeah.
Cheeseburgers, carrot cake and coffee. Yum. And it's the Pet Shop Boys in New York, written by Chris Heath.
Oh, this is just the greatest combination, though, with the Boys, New York, and then with Chris Heath. I mean, it's great. He probably doesn't even have to ask the questions. He is a Pet Shop Boy. But I really loved the fact that they kind of make reference to the fact they went out and met, I think they call him sort of famous dance producer Bobby O, which is of course he launched their career. But and the fact that they see one of Hall & Oates and they're not sure which one it is. Is it Hall or is it Oates? Turns out to be Oates. Just great.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting how they mentioned the trip to New York that Neil Tennant had made.
It was a work trip.
Yeah, reviewing the Police at Shea Stadium for Smash Hits, but managing to fit in a little trip to see Bobby O and seal the deal to get the Pet Shop Boys' music career off the ground.
I do remember when they announced that he was leaving to be a pop star, and I thought it was a joke. I thought he'd just be back next week. gutted. Well, until I heard the song, but it's like, what are they talking about?
And then just talking about people that they've met. They went to Antigua to record and bumped into our old pal Midjure.
As you do.
Midjure was hard at work on his new LP, so did he play them some songs? He did actually, says Chris. And, oh, says Neil, as the limousine rather conveniently draws to a halt. We're there, so they managed to duck that question.
Yeah, I think the timing of that is hilarious. It's really funny.
And then we get Chris Lowe's photographic guide to New York, which is, 8 Polaroids laid out in gallery-style fashion. And he's considering it art when you look at photo number 2, Culinary Delights 1, cheeseburger and a cup of coffee, 1988.
It's early Instagram, isn't it?
That's before its time.
Yeah, it is, yeah. And Chris describes it as a nice diagonal composition there. Abstract, I think. It is obviously a photograph of a cheeseburger and a cup of coffee, but really, I look at that and I see an abstract work of art rather than anything specific. I see shape and colour and texture. You can't really relate to it as food.
Exactly. Imagine if he'd have said one day you'll all be photographing your burgers and putting them online. Yeah. Blow your mind, wouldn't it?
It would have done. It really would. These are good photos, aren't they? I think they're great.
They are.
I like them.
I quite like photo. Photo number 5 is Chris Lowe in the sailor's outfit again. That number 5. That unfortunately is how I look. Brackets, but not how I like to think I look, close brackets, 1988. And then number 8 is Neil Tennant in a rather fetching suit jacket. Where did you get that jacket, 1988? Actually, it's a nice jacket. Where did you get it from, Neil? Neil? From Charivaris yesterday, actually. So just like on this one, they know the format that they're dealing with and they're just having a bit of fun with this one, which you didn't always come across when you saw them on Top of the Pops or you saw their videos. But I think in the Smash Hits pieces with the Pet Shop Boys, you really do get a sense of fun, and they're just kind of playing with the form a little bit because Neil knows exactly what he's doing and exactly how to play it.
There's quite a revealing bit actually in there where you're saying about him knowing the form, because he gets on a bit of a rant about the record company and starts going on about it. And then obviously the Smash Hits journalist bit of his brain kind of kicks in, because then it goes, anyway, Neil sighs, I could do an entire interview about EMI, but there's nothing more boring than pop stars complaining about their record companies. So he's had a word with himself and just thought, no.
Exactly.
He must have done that interview a million times with other people and just thought, I'm not going to be that guy. But it's a really funny piece, isn't it? It's lovely. Again, It's that thing of just feeling like you're there with them, and you're going around New York, travelling in cabs and going to parties with Annie from Amazulu, and going for cheesecake and carrot cake, and it's really funny. They've got such a good sense of humour in this piece, haven't they? Yeah.
Hannah, is Pet Shop Boys ever a band that you've encountered in your professional life? So to interview or anything?
No, and I'm really gutted about it. Bitter, some might say. I've been to see him so many times, and I think I worked one place. I worked on a X Factor magazine that didn't last very long. We got an interview with them, but I wasn't the one to do it. Gutted. Oh. They're still on the list. But the thing about them being so miserable is, do you see them on the Radio 2 concert last autumn? It was so euphoric. Everyone was loving it so much. Chris started smiling. I've never seen that before at any gig. It was amazing. And they were both kind of smirking. I've never seen them like that before. It was a beautiful experience.
Africa Bambaataa and Family featuring UB40 and the song Reckless, which I have no recollection of.
No.
Really?
Whatsoever.
It's the only good UB40 song out there. I recommend you listen to it other than any other UB40 song. It reminds me of School Discos, bizarrely.
I didn't remember I heard this one at all, but Gav, you highlighted some lyrics there.
Yeah, I was just looking through some lyrics and I found some of them a little bit troubling. I mean, we looked at UB40 in the very first edition of Giddy Carousel of Pop, didn't we?
We did,
and there was a very quite a miserable interview with them, and they were very cynical and just all about the money, and came across as not being very happy at all. And then this was a few years later, and I think they've all written the lyrics together, but it's basically it's a story of someone being on the dance floor, meeting a a foxtress on the dance floor and trying to impress her with dancing skills, I think, but she's kind of maybe got eyes on someone else as well. And then the lyrics say, this is the message you should discover. You can't trust a girl or judge them by the cover. They can lead you on and keep you in a daze, keep you head over heels and keep you amazed. It's up to you whether you fall in the trap. Just remember when you push up to have a strong rap. And then just, because nowadays things are real funny. You can bet more than likely all she want is your money. Girls are all the same everywhere. You can bet all they want from you is what they can get. I'd say it's not the most positive depiction of women out there.
Oh, UB40, like they're going to go for you for your face. Like trying to kid themselves.
Yeah. Well, when I was reading through the lyrics, it felt like about 3 different songs, lyrics from 3 different songs just kind of patched together. Yeah.
But it's got a foxtress singing on it, and I can't think who it is. The name escapes me, but she was a very foxy woman, giving it a bit of the don't make the move, UB40, that kind of thing. Yeah. It was great.
Oh, she must have been part of the family with
I think she's a family. Yes.
In the middle there, either side of the Bros pullout, a poster of Wet, Wet, Wet. But let's talk about Bros, shall we?
Oh,
the gift that keeps on giving in terms of the smash hits and interviews. We encountered the boys on episode 2 of the Giddy Carousel of Pop when Craig Logan had recently left the band, but we're a year earlier on this one. Craig's still firmly part of the trio, and there's a personal profile, or fact box, as it says, of each member of the band. So it's mostly photos, but then you get these fact boxes here. And I'm starting to wonder if Bros are some sort of like high art avant-garde project.
Do you think?
Yeah, I'm starting to think, is it a great art hoax or something like that? Because I was listening to Drop the Boy, which was the single that was out at the time that this was out, and it's so abstract. There's very little song to kind of grasp onto. There's all these different elements, and there's this guitar that comes in from nowhere, doesn't really belong in the song. It's not the sum of its parts in any way whatsoever. Very difficult to grasp onto any sort of tune. And I just started thinking, is this some sort of avant-garde joke?
Do you think they're like the bands that KLF could have been?
Yeah.
I love it.
That's a great theory, so yeah. The more I think of it, the more I think actually there could be something in that.
Because nothing about them makes any sense whatsoever. No. Not them and not their music. Either that or that they are just genuinely innocent and barking mad. I don't know which it is, but Matt and Luke's fact boxes, there's some pure gold amongst these. Hannah, there was anything that kind of leapt out to you, any little nuggets or facts that you'd like to share?
See, I'm about to blast you now, but I'm actually about 2 years too old to like Bros.
Yeah.
There was nothing there for me. I was past it by then. But I like the fact that Craig was a monstrous baby. They used to call him Ken, didn't they? Not Ken. Craig.
Yeah, Ken. Yeah.
But there's a lot of things where they've said quite boring things, and they've just had to really big it up. Something about Luke being an astronaut and Matt trying his hand at acting when he was younger.
Gav, anything that leaps out to you from the fact boxes?
I think Matt's getting very upset about the dolphins. It's quite revealing this one.
It's beautiful.
It says that the sort of the headline bit is he's a bit of a crybaby sniveler, and Matt says there was this film about 2 dolphins who could speak. Phew, I really cried at it. At the end, the army came to take them away so they could populate the oceans, and their dad was trying to make them go for the sake of the species, and he was saying, Daddy hates you, go away, Daddy doesn't ever want to see you again. And the 2 dolphins were saying, we love you, Daddy. Well, I went straight upstairs and booed my eyes out. And that's a lovely little revealing window into the world of Matt.
But he says he just wants to watch a video and have a kiss and cuddle.
Oh, that made me laugh as well, a bit about having a girlfriend, yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, what was it say? Within an hour, I think I'll know. He believes in love at first sight. Because within an hour, I think I'll know. Because when I see this person, I'll feel something. I'll think, oh, she's lovely. Whether she's ugly or not. Because there'll be something about her eyes or mouth or nose or something. Then I'll talk and I'll know whether she's a nice person or not. She would have to be a nice person and be able to make me laugh and feel nice and look after me. That's the most important thing.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It is. I mean, I was saying on the last podcast when we talked about Bros that I felt that the Goss brothers had invented the character of Stath from Stath Lets Flats. And for anyone that doesn't know Stath Lets Flats, watch them. They're on all four, and then go back and read these Bros interviews, because you just do them in the Stath voice, and it's exactly like that. It's amazing. They've invented a comedy character here, the two of them.
Well, you get a little insight as well into their childhood when Matt talks about any scars or defects. And he says, I've got a scar in the middle of my forehead, which Luke did when I was about 7. I was on a stool with wheels, and Luke kicked it for a laugh, and I fell forward and split my head open. It was actually that wide, indicates the width of his entire forehead. I remember blinking and the blood dripping onto my eyelashes.
They've always been so turbulent.
Yeah. And then Luke talks about when he was born. He says he was unfinished when he was born. I had no eyebrows or eyelashes or any hair whatsoever when I was born because we were premature. I don't think my nails were ready yet either. And my mom didn't want to kiss me because I was so ugly.
Oh.
I was pretty glad to see the back of the day I was born. I mean, there I was, expecting another 2 months to go, sitting back, relaxing and watching the telly. And suddenly I popped out without anyone realising. I thought, wait a minute, I'm not finished yet.
The idea of him popping out like a tortoise without a shell on, just this like weird little thing without any nails or hair.
I can imagine it.
Yeah.
But it's how he remembers being in the womb.
Watching telly in the womb. Yeah.
That day.
And like you said, he wanted to be an astronaut. And he says, I was mad about being an astronaut when I was young. But when I found out about how many qualifications you needed, I decided I'd skip it and save that for my next life. I'd like us to be the first band in space. That'd be a grin. Question mark.
Yeah, and then he talks about having learning to swim as well. I remember learning to swim when I was 4 too. My mum used to take us to the local swimming pool and chuck us in. Swim, you bastards! Ha ha! No, she gradually taught us. And then Craig's is just utterly disappointing compared to that.
He's boring,
so I think the writing's on the wall here. Well, with this fact box, and then if you watch his dancing on the Top of the Pops performance of Drop the Boy, whoa.
He got dropped.
Oh, and his fear of small dogs.
Yeah, he just had to go. There was no other option for Ken.
Poor Ken.
Drop the Craig.
Yeah, drop the Craig.
Yeah.
But he's never been a miserable sort, so,
No, fair play.
he does have that to him. And Bros even getting to Get Smart, where people write in with questions about things. Dear Get Smart, you have to help me. I'm in love with Matt from Bros's shoes, the ones which have the weird things like watches, playing cards and bottle tops on. Where does he get them from? He talks about the specific shoes with the watch on, but then mentions the bottle top ones. It says, the bottle tops you've seen him sport come from Grolsch lager bottles, and if you want to get hold of these, you'll have to bribe Dad to buy a couple. They cost about £1.50 a bottle the next time he nits out to the local pub or off licence. And then there's a letter here, a Madonna fan in Bexhill asking, is Madonna doomed? Dear Get Smart, I'm rather worried. Recently, I read a newspaper article saying that Madonna is dying of cancer. I noticed she hasn't been in the public eye much lately, which makes me suspect something's wrong. So could you please tell me the truth? And this relates to something that David Hepworth was talking about when we had him on the podcast. He said that was one of the things that people used to write in or even call about more than anything else. It'd be like, is Boy George dying? And that sort of thing. So Hannah, did you ever encounter that sort of thing when you were at Smash Hits, people getting concerned for the welfare of their favourite pop star?
I think so. We would have the odd people kind of turning up, hoping that they might just be in the office as well. And I remember when we did the Smash Hits tour, the fans used to, in the middle of the night, just be getting your sleep, and they'd just set the fire alarm off to get everyone out so they could take a good look at their favourite pop stars. Nice. But it was kind of before the internet as well, so people would see the hits as the authority. So yeah, you'd get the letters.
Let's look at an advert here for NatWest, the Action Bank. Fill in the blanks and get 4 blanks free. It's an advert for getting a NatWest account. And you get a 4-pack of Memorex C90 cassettes.
Yeah, not even TDK. You get the Memorex.
Well, this is it. Christmas presents. That was one of my favourite things to get, blank tapes.
Oh, lovely.
So my mum and dad or siblings would know, get me TDK or Sony.
Yeah.
But you could always guarantee there'd be an uncle somewhere who'd give you a pack of Memorex. And what am I going to do with them?
The disappointment.
Yeah, I can't, I'm not going to make my special compilation tape using one of them.
Yeah.
So, they'd just be used for, recording stuff off the radio that I'd tape over, or I was learning to play guitar at that point, so I'd just record endless hours of me.
Let's use it for that.
Yeah, just strumming away and wailing into the microphone.
There are a lot of bank adverts in this issue as well, aren't there? There's several for like Woolwich or building societies and stuff.
Do you remember that was quite big back then, though, trying to lure teenagers and kids into the bank?
Yeah.
I remember who's the ones that did all the piggies? I was quite tempted by those. You could get the set of pigs. My friends got the whole set.
Was it the Midland or the NatWest?
I think it was NatWest because I went with Midland. Was that had the Griffin
That was the
savers?
Griffin.
You got a nicer pen. Yeah, you got a Griffin paraphernalia and you got a much nicer pen. It wrote really nicely. What a geek.
Tell you what, you didn't get any of that with the Yorkshire Bank when I opened my account.
Oh, I bet you didn't. Not even a tea bag for you lot. Just a lesson in life, that is.
You got a bloody account, what more do you bloody want? And then got the lyrics for Love Changes Everything, Climie Fisher. Cav's pulling a face at that one.
It's the picture of, is that Climie or Fisher? I don't know. The one on the right.
I think, Simon Climie was the singer, wasn't he? Rob Fisher.
Yeah, he's on the right.
He's halfway between young Elvis and Brian Ferry in that picture, I think, isn't he? But he's been on a sunbed as well.
Yeah.
Bit Judith Chalmers.
That is a banger of a song, though. Are you not in agreement about this?
I think you can predict my answer.
Oh, come on. No. What is wrong with you two? Put it on.
I recorded this one from Top of the Pops, so I did like it at the time. It's one of the stronger pop songs from the era, I would say.
Faint praise.
Yeah, faint praise.
When you make a mixtape for someone now, do you put it on?
Oh, God, no.
What? Let me tell you, the ladies are going to dig it if you do.
Not the ladies I know. Claudia in Germany, she wouldn't be digging Climie.
Claudia would be like, oh, you have turned me with your Climie Fisher way.
I reject the mission and the cult now. Yeah.
And then we get a personal file of Sinitta, which is... Now, this is quite a piece as well.
Yeah.
Hannah, any particular bits stand out for you from this? What doesn't stand out? Oh, my gosh,
what doesn't? So, my favourite bit is when they ask if her and a twin are identical, and she says, are we identical? Not now. I think we'd have to work at it. Sinitta, what is wrong with you? And they also ask the important question, why do you never wear very many clothes? Because she's little. Are you really in love with Whitney? And the answer's kind of yes. And she reveals that chief tea boy of pop, Rick Astley, makes horrible tea. And when they ask her to write a poem, instead of just like, no, she comes good and she writes a poem about Bubbles, Michael Jackson's monkey.
I thought that was very impressive. She came up with that off the top of her head. That was very good.
Do you think Pete Waterman was in the background, like prompting her? What rhymes with Bubbles? Talk about his monkeyness.
Would you care to read that poem out to us?
Oh, sorry, Grandma here's just getting her glasses on. So they say, can you think of a poem about Bubbles? Now, if someone said that to me, and I always think about this when I'm asking a question, no would be the answer. But she says, oh, I'd quite like to be Bubbles for a day, actually. Let's think. Oh, God, how about... I wish I was Michael Jackson's Bubbles, so I'd get into lots of trouble. He could introduce me to Whitney. Wait a minute. I'm never going to find anything to rhyme with Whitney, am I? Can you finish it? Oh, I know. He could introduce me to Whitney and then leave. And then she bursts into hysterics. What a pop poet she is, though. I mean, this doesn't come as a surprise to me because she did Toy Boy, she did Big Red GTO. So I think she's got the credentials, but she just brings it on the day. I love it.
Well, I can't decide whether she's got low self-esteem or whether she's some sort of sociopath.
Really?
Because when it asks her about her first crush, it says, oh dear, unfortunately, all my first crushes were on girls who I had as heroes because I was a wannabe person. I'd always want to be just like someone. And then she names people, and she mentions Whitney Houston. Yes, I am in love with her. It's going on like that. And I think, you've got to be worried for your own personal safety if Sinitta takes an interest in you.
I think Gary Christian must be very worried. Yeah, he gets a few mentions.
Yeah, so I'm getting a bit of a single white female vibe from this, to be honest.
It says, one of the questions asked is, have you ever had a pillow fight on the roof of a cottage? And she starts talking about Peter Gabriel and Kate Bush and whether Kate Bush is pregnant with Peter Gabriel. And then she says, anyway, I'd like to have a pillow fight with Gary Christian, though I don't think he likes me because I've been harassing him. I went off Whitney for him. It sounds a bit threatening, doesn't it?
Very threatening, yeah.
She's one confident woman, though. I mean, we already know she is by the way she only wears palm leaves these days. But to actually come out with all that, it's very modern.
Although I think there's obviously some sense of self-awareness, because at the end she says, that was the craziest interview I've ever done. I'm a bit worried about how this one's going to turn out.
So is Gary Christian, I bet.
Yeah, but he is.
Yeah.
And she likes Prince, but she doesn't think she'd get it on with him. Do me a favour, of course she would.
She definitely would, yeah.
Well, she's small,
Yeah.
he's small, match made in heaven there, I think.
I think so.
Moving on, we get a couple more lyrics. Love is Contagious, Taja Sevelle.
Yeah, you mentioned Taja Sevelle earlier, didn't you, Hannah?
Mm.
That's a good song, isn't it? I'd forgotten about Love is Contagious. That's a good tune.
It's brilliant. See, I was, still am, a massive Prince fan, so anyone kind of associated with him, a bit of Sheila-y, a bit of Taja, anyone, I'd be right in there. But it's a really, really good song.
The chorus is lovely. It reminded me a bit of sort of Saint Etienne and that, it's got that drifty sort of feel. And yeah.
I bought it from a charity shop last year, the single of it, and I was very surprised to see how old it is. I didn't realise that it was from that long ago. It feels...
It doesn't sound from that time, really.
No, it doesn't. No. It sounds a lot more modern. I was thinking, it's mid-90s that, but no, completely wrong, 1988.
You could put it out now.
You could put it out now. I think it's probably something to do with Prince's involvement on that one. Now, letters page, anything that stood out? I couldn't pick anything out here. It's kind of in that period where it's hard to decipher what the flip's going on.
I like that period, though. Although I can't pick anything out. Black Type is one of my heroes, actually. Yeah. And I would say that Black Type's the person that informs my writing style more than anyone else. But probably just with the overuse of inverted commas. But it's just pure genius. It's bonkers. I would think at this period, I think it's Tom Hibbert doing it, who's like the best writer ever. And if you haven't read his interviews, there's a really good roundup of all his Q interviews, and each one is absolutely amazing. So I think this is a beautiful tribute. And I've got a Black Type tea towel as well.
Is that the Who the Hell Do You Think You Are compilation of Q stuff?
Yeah, I'm just looking. Who the hell?
Yeah,
and I think you can get it secondhand these days. But if anyone wants to borrow mine, I'll give you my address at the end of the podcast. Read it out. I'll send it to you.
Do you still have your Black Type tea towel?
I do. Yeah, it's a remake, but it's in my toilet. But if ever I get stuck on an intro, I can't think what to write, I just get out the Tom Hibbert book, and it just sets me right. It really does. It's a genius.
So we get to the singles review. The singles here being reviewed by Erasure, Andy Bell and Vince Clarke. And whether it's the selection of records that's not inspiring them, or whether they're just not very charitable people, I don't know. But there's absolutely,
I love it.
There's absolutely nothing here ticking their boxes, and yeah, it's fantastic.
I love the way they hate everything.
Yes, even the song that they pick out as single of the fortnight, Pet Shop Boys' Heart, they don't like that either.
No, not particularly.
No, they very begrudgingly give it single of the fortnight, as it's like, well, it's the least bad thing here, really. But I mean, when I first read the single reviews, I thought, God, I've been a bit miserable. But when I actually listened to a lot of the songs and reacquainted myself with them, I was like, yeah, most of it is pretty bad, actually. I think I'd be with him on it. I feel a bit sorry for him. I mean, the Juice and Mary Chain one, I like that, and Heart is a good single, and they're really down on that. And, all right, it's not one of the absolute very, very best Pet Shop Boys songs, but it's a very solid one, it's a good one. But the other stuff, yeah, there's not a lot that floats my boat really there.
It's what Andy Bell says about Deacon Blue, When Will You Make My Telephone Ring? It's very 70s sounding, like a young Joe Cocker. And then he's described as ancient Crumbly, who sang the title track to the film An Officer and a Gentleman. It sounds like a golden oldie, something you'd hear on an old pub jukebox. And then Vince says, except that it's not that golden.
I think they make a great double act. The way when they get to AC/DC, Andy just says, I find this heavy metal stuff a big joke. It's great.
Yeah, and then Vince says that he'd quite like to be a heavy metal guitarist. Yeah, Andy says, you'd have to pull all the rock and roll chicks, Vince. Vince, oh no, I wouldn't do that.
And then Vince talking about the Jesus and Mary chain as well, he just sums up, he says, this is terrible, like a really bad version of T-Rex. And that's it in a nutshell, isn't it?
And then the other singles that are reviewed here. So we've got Aha, Stay on These Roads, Everything But the Girl, I Always Was Your Girl. Again, they're not too keen on that, and I thought everybody liked Everything But the Girl.
Yeah, I thought they'd be a bit more charitable.
Yeah.
They did get the real stinker, which is Patrick Swayze. She's like the wind, so it's like, this is terrible.
What are you talking about, Hannah? Come on. Seriously.
So many arguments tonight. It's all going to get a bit rowdy, isn't it?
I'm not having that. That is no, it's terrible.
There's rancour on the Giddy Carousel of Pop.
This is the most controversial one you've done yet.
And then the unlikely combination of Barry Manilow with Kid Creole and the Coconuts.
I had no recollection of this at all.
And when
I don't remember that.
No, and when you listen to it, you can't even tell who's doing what, which is something that Andy and Vince pick up on as well. It says, Andy says, there isn't much Barry Manilow in there.
Where does Manilow begin and Coconut end? We just don't know.
That is the question, yes.
But look, there's a picture of them as well, so they really did do the reviews. They're holding the platters.
Yep, they've got all the singles there. I was wondering how they're getting those records to stick together. Are they on a ledge? Yeah, they're on a ledge, aren't they? I was wondering if they glued them together or something like that. They hated the records that much, they were going to glue them together and then burn them or something. But yeah, Vince does sum it up at the end. He says, to be honest, all the records we've heard were pretty awful. It sounds boring, but I really don't have much of an opinion about pop music. I rarely listen to it. So flip the page, a few film reviews, and then you get the album reviews, which introduce some more incongruity into the proceedings. So alongside the album by Blue Mercedes, which Sylvia Patterson rightly points out as it sounds like ABC, but not as good. And the album by Taja Sevelle, which gets a healthy 9 out of 10. We've also got albums by The Fall and Morrissey, and over the page, Prefab Sprout and Talking Heads as well. But The Fall there in Smash It, something that probably didn't happen too often, I guess.
No, not so much. I mean, around that time, they were having a few very minor hits, weren't they, with covers like Victoria and Ghost in My House.
It was the pop years of The Fall.
Yeah, by their standards. But yeah, like you say, nice to see them in there. And it gets 7 out of 10, which isn't a bad score at all. So it's quite good, really, if you don't mind people who can't sing. And that's one of the more poppy albums with Bricks on that. But nice to see it in there.
And do you want to talk about Morrissey? Do you feel you can do that?
Well, I mean, at the time, yeah, I'd have been all over it. Me and Morrissey, we've had a falling out, as many ex-Morrissey fans have, which we won't go into. But
even those cancel culture people, are you? Grandad spouted about some stuff and you don't like him anymore.
Yeah.
Is this how we feel?
Yeah, basically.
Oh, right. Good, good, very good.
Yeah, it just got too strange. But I mean, the album at the time, particularly in the lovelorn days of this time of my life, it was a great comfort to me. And Late Night Magdalen Street, which is a lovely song actually about him growing up in the 70s, so about 7-8 minutes long with Vinnie Riley on guitar, and that's one of my favourite Morrissey songs. But yeah, I really struggle to listen to Morrissey these days, unfortunately.
Even the old stuff?
Even the old stuff, yeah. Everything just feels a bit tainted to me, and I can appreciate some people think, that's a bit odd, but it's just how it is.
That's really interesting though, because I always wonder how Morrissey fans feel. They're kind of divided, aren't they? But it takes a lot to fall out of love with your favourite music.
Yeah, it does, but it was just, some of the stuff he was coming out with, I just didn't, I don't know, it just tainted everything for me, unfortunately. Yeah. So I felt like I just didn't really want it in my life anymore. But back then, I would never have imagined that would have ever been the case, but... Hey, there we go. There's
it's such a shame, it really is, for all those songs.
But I've got room in my life now for Climie Fisher, so, It's not all bad.
Also, you can just go straight to the Johnny Marr side and get all the electronic albums and just make your life 100% better.
Exactly.
Well, I was going through my records just to see what I'd bought from around this period. And the only single on my shelf that I've got from this time is Suede Head, Morrissey, which had come out the month before. And bought nothing else, I think, because I was taping so much stuff off the radio.
Well, you didn't need to buy anything.
No, home taping really was killing music. And then a review for Dirty Dancing, the video. I seem to remember home videos costing rather a lot back then. But my sister's friend, well, my sister and her friend were both massively into Dirty Dancing, and my sister's friend bought the video. My God. We used to see that over and over and over. Chris Heath, possibly not the best person to review this. I don't think he's the necessarily the target market for Dirty Dancing. Gives it 7 out of 10. But all the girls at school were massively into Dirty Dancing at this time.
That is one terrible film, though, isn't it?
Well, I was going to ask where you stood on Dirty Dancing. This is controversial.
I know. I feel like I'm betraying my gender and all the women my age by saying this, but it's awful. And I used to have to babysit some kids who really liked it. They must have been rich because they had the VHS. Got a fair whack for that babysitting, but we'd have to watch it again and again. And all I wanted to do was put on my Live in Excess video when they'd gone to sleep and have a special moment with Michael. But I have to get through Dirty Dancing first. Terrible film.
Well, I'm very, very surprised to hear that. You're probably the first woman I know who's spoken against the film.
Wow.
In a minority.
If ever you need someone to, I'm there.
Yeah, brilliant. Love it.
I think we need a Twitter poll, don't we, for
yes,
to find out.
Yeah, where people stand on Dirty Dancing.
I reckon. I think it's time has come to because it's a little bit out of the culture now, isn't it? When was the musical? Was around a few years ago, was it?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily out of the culture because
is it not? Okay.
You know, my daughter's 14 and perfect age for watching this. She wasn't mad keen on the film, but some of her friends, you know, it's kind of almost like a rites of passage.
Oh, okay.
Just like Grease was prior to Dirty Dancing. It just seems to be one of those films that lots of people hold dearly.
I don't know. The sexual politics is being lifted up in a lake by Patrick Swayze, Lord Patrick of Swayze. I'm not sure. I'm not sure these days.
Patrick Swizzle.
Yeah.
But it does have a review of Three Men and a Baby, which is a stormer of a film.
I went to the pictures to see that, but I don't remember much about it.
It's just, haha, we found a baby. Whose is it? The end. Oh, sorry, spoiler alert.
Getting rapidly towards the end of the magazine here. So a couple more adverts, on to mutterings, and then Rick Astley. He's no Michael Hutchence, is he really? Saying that was from the back of Smash Hits.
Talking about Rick Astley, I just remembered that reminded me of one of the letters from the letters page where Rick Astley's... There was a real funny thing about in Smash Hits that went through quite a lot of issues about... I think he'd answered on one of the fact files about the first song he'd ever written was called Ruddy Big Pig. And someone on the letters page has set the lyrics to Ruddy Big Pig because the tune had been forgotten, but they've set the lyrics to Ruddy Big Pig to some of the lines from Together Forever. And if you go to the letters page and find that, it kind of explains which lines from Together Forever you need to sing with which lines from Ruddy Big Pig. It's hilarious. It's really, I recommend that. Sorry, I had a lot of fun doing that this afternoon.
Sounds like quite the remix.
Yeah, it was very good. I might even put it on YouTube. It was great.
Do it.
So yeah, we are at the end of the magazine here. And so any final thoughts looking back at this period in pop music and the smash hits of the time and this issue in particular, Hannah?
I just think, well, one of the reasons why I chose it is because I think sort of 88, 89 is, I think because I was a teenager, I was 16, 17 at that time, but it's such a special time music for me. And I'm watching all the Top of the Pops reruns. It's just gone from 88 to 89. And you see how everything starts changing. And you've got New Order doing Round and Round in the studio looking totally miserable. But then you've still got, I don't know, you've got Yaz and you've got all kind of things like Inner City start coming in and all the dance music. And I just remember it being so exciting at that time. we're warming up to the week when the Roses and the Mondays were both on Top of the Pops together. And I just remember thinking, there's a big old world out there, and I'm stuck in Kettering, and one day I'll get there. But I've also made recently a 1989 dance compilation, and I was enthusing about it the other day and going, I wouldn't believe this is 20 years old. Of course, it's more than 30 years old, but I just think of it as being quite current. But yeah, it's just a great time.
Gavin, any thoughts from you?
Well, just in terms of, I suppose really, I feel like I've been a bit of a downer on some other stuff, but I'd kind of grown out of I'd grown out of Smash Hits by this time, and I went from Smash Hits probably around about 85, 86, went on to Record Mirror for a little while, and then I was on to the weeklies, and I think by this point I was only getting The Enemy and Melody Maker and maybe Sounds, and that was it. So the music I was listening to really was it was pretty much all indie type stuff, or stuff that was less pop and a bit more kind of rocky or whatever. So I think I'd just moved on a little bit. I mean, if it had been sort of 3 years earlier, I kind of knew everything in the charts, and I loved pretty much everything in the charts. But by now I was thinking, it's a bit childish, and and I think because of Stock Aitken and Waterman, and I really didn't like their sound of music at all. So I was just really put off by a lot of stuff, and I think I would watch Top of the Pops sometimes if it was on, but it wasn't something I really kind of kept on top of. But hope I've not rained on your parade too much, Hannah.
No, but it's really, I think that kind of experience is really nice. If you think 3 years before, they'd have been good pop in the charts. And I think the first time you discover something that isn't like mainstream pop, it kind of forms your identity, doesn't it?
Really
Can you
does,
remember the first thing that you listened to that wasn't like your first John Peel thing that wasn't in the charts?
I suppose, well, really, the Smiths kind of opened stuff up because although they were in the charts, so that was Janice Long stuff and listening to things on there, and then getting more into the jangly stuff. But then I suppose in terms of record purchases, I remember reading in an interview somewhere, I can't remember, it probably would have been in The Enemy or something, someone name-checked Captain Beefheart, and I was about 16, and there was like a budget double album kind of thing of Safe as Milk and Mirror Man, and I bought that, and that blew my mind, because at first I was like, this is crap, what the hell is this? But then, I kind of just kept playing it, and then I was like, oh, this is good, and then I got a cheap Velvet Underground album. So those were the kind of formative experiences in terms of non-mainstream stuff that, like I say, you'd read about in interviews in sort of serious papers a bit more, but you wouldn't really kind of hear or kind of see anything by on telly.
But I think that's amazing that you took a chance from reading about it. I think that wouldn't happen nowadays, would it?
No, not at all. But that was your way to find out about things, wasn't it? Really, unless you had a mate with an amazing record collection or older siblings. And I was an only child, so I had to kind of discover everything myself. None of my friends were really into music or nothing that I liked at all. So. But that was nice because it made it yours, and it was your own little sort of hermetically sealed world of discoveries and obsessions, and one thing led you from another, and you sort of hopped across, there's that, and then you'd read about something else, and you sort of link things up yourself, and so that, I think that's when you become sort of really obsessive about music. And
well, that way of discovering things, which it was a very slow process, and so you discovered something, you had time to absorb it, which is not something that you can really do now. Everything's there on Spotify or whatever, and you just skip through genres, eras, whatever, at the click of a button, and nothing feels as though it sticks in the same way that it would when you were going out and either a mate had tape you something, or you'd hear something on the radio and it'd take you months to track it down if you wanted it for yourself.
Oh, that feeling though when you find it, if you've heard it somewhere, it's like, I've got it. Yeah, it was really hard to be like a Teenage New Order fan because very few of their song titles are in the song. So like, I don't know what I'm listening to. There's no relation. So I don't even know what I'm asking for here.
And have you still kept all your old issues of Smash Hits?
Yeah, they're in every time I move house, the Smash Hits Select I was really into. I was a massive fangirl of Select in the 90s and Q. I got all of those and they move house with me every time. And I think one day I'm going to get them out and read them when I have time. Never do. But I think Select in particular was one of my favourites. But also I remember when we when we were working on Smash Hits, Kerrang were over the road from us, over the corridor, and they were all lovely. So I think I had a few Kerrangs as well. It was a great time.
When you were writing for Smash Hits yourself, was it still, and the pieces that you did, but the pieces that other people did, do you think it was informed by the Smash Hits of the 80s when we're at this kind of ridiculous peak of poking fun at pop stars, and then isn't this all like a bit weird and a bit of a lark? Is that the kind of tone that was happening in Smash Hits when you were working on it?
Yes, I think it was half and half. You had some people who wouldn't have got those jokes if you'd hit them over the head with them, but also a lot of us that wanted to keep it how it was and how it should be, I think, from very 80s style. And I think after I left, it was in the Blazing Squad era, it was encouraged to be a bit more, oh, look, here's a free pencil case and that's all you need. But I think the spirit of it was there when I was there. We tried to anyway, and we used to dress people up ridiculously. And we had Westlife dressed as spacemen and Steps dressed as punks and that kind of thing. And I remember I went, one of my worst interviews ever was to go and interview Jon Bon Jovi at home in his, which sounds amazing. I was like, this is going to be really amazing. But I was quite a shy person. And I went to his flat, and it was just awful being stuck in a room with Jon Bon Jovi, asking him a few stupid questions, which he just wasn't getting. At one point, I started to really talk with my hands to try and get something out of him, kind of G him up a bit. And he said, did you just make the sign of rock to Jon Bon Jovi? And I was like, I think I did, and you might just want to terminate the interview now, bye. I actually went out 10 minutes early with the PR going, don't you want more time? And I was like, no, I don't, I can't get anything. I might have actually dropped the kind of, what colour is Friday? At which point he'd been like, what? It depends what Friday is. Like, oh no. So it was, but then when I read it back, it's actually not a bad interview, but just it makes me feel just stressed thinking about that 20 minutes of my life.
So the opposite then of Jon Bon Jovi being like the worst experience, who was the best experience? Who did you enjoy interviewing the most and that you remember most fondly?
I've got a few people I was really fond of. One of them, I absolutely hate Boyzone's music, but I absolutely loved Stephen Gately. He really, really got it. He was really cheeky, really, really funny. And you'd ask him, like, oh, which girls would you like to date Britney? Which girls do you fancy? And he'd go, the Queen. But he was so brilliant. He had such a good sense of humour. And I once wrote a booklet about him as well. That was lovely. And I used to like a lot of the sort of indie people who got it. I remember I did a couple of trips with Ash. I took them to the seaside. And they were just such a laugh. And they would just insult everyone as well in a kind of Smash It style. But they were absolute delight, like really charming people. And just really, really lovely. I wasn't so keen on Ronan Keating, but there you go.
Can't have everything.
With his fancy trousers.
Fancy trousers?
Yes. He had these really hideous trousers that we put him on the cover with. They were like probably Versace pattern trousers. And they were the worst trousers. And we used to take the mickey out of his trousers relentlessly. And I think he got a little bit offended by it. We used to be very cheeky in the captions. I always remember that. And I don't know if you remember Jessica Simpson. She was a kind of pneumatic blonde American pop star. Yeah. And we used to have this running joke that if anyone had their cleavage out, we'd just put a quote that says, she may have her knockers, but we quite like her. And Jessica Simpson sat and read that and went, what's this? What are you talking about? There's some hairy moments, I would say.
Quite a few of the people that we've spoken to who worked at Smash Hits, not just on the podcast, but Gav, you've met quite a few of the ex-Smash Hits crew, and everyone seems to remember it the most fondly out of everything that they've ever worked on. Is that the same for you?
Yes, it's ruins my career, really. The whole, once everyone says this that's worked on it, and we're all really good friends. It's like a small, strange family, slightly dysfunctional, but once you've worked there, there's never another job that's like it. We used to hate weekends and just be looking forward to going into work so that we could go and eat some free burgers at a showcase after work or go to some free gigs or just hang out with pop stars. And it was incredibly hard work, but also we would never, ever see another job like it. And, you'd get to go to New York for 48 hours and be really jet lagged, but get to meet the Backstreet Boys and wait 10 hours for them in a hotel room, getting hysterical. But it was really a glorious, glorious job. And I've never had one that's matched up to it, actually. Just sad.
I think, yeah. Oh.
Well, I think that pretty much wraps things up. Hannah, thank you so much for taking the time out to talk the hits with us tonight.
Oh, thank you. It's been such fun to get away with talking about it without anyone telling me to shut up. It's great.
If people want to track you down on the internet and see what you're up to and stuff like that, Twitter the best place for that?
Oh, yeah. Words by Verds on Twitter.
Okay.
You get the odd rambling about music and telly and podcasts.
Oh, podcasts as well. Yeah, this is... so you write about podcasts, don't you?
I do, yeah. Is that you slipping me 20 quid there?
No, not at all. I'd be quite...
I will.
I was going to say, I'd be quite happy if you didn't write about it.
You don't want to get too popular yet.
Exactly. I don't think I'm ready for that kind of scrutiny. And thanks to you for listening. Come and say hello to us at Giddy Pop Pod on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, and at giddypoppod.home.blog, where you'll also find the links to the edition of Smash Hits that we've been looking at, along with those Spotify and YouTube playlists for that extra layer of experience. And we hope you can join us next time on the Giddy Carousel of Pop.